Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official episode of the Beskar Bucket. I am your host, John. I'm be welcoming in my guest, Jess, a personal close friend of mine who has seen Star Wars for the first time in his life this last, 2 weeks or so?
Yeah, this us could just power through them.
Yeah, so I thought it would be interesting to bring him on and chat about his experience with watching the Skywalker Saga for the first time. So without further ado, Jess, what would you say that your overall thoughts of watching Star Wars for the very first time would be?
I think it's a little difficult context from when the original trilogy came out, because I mean Star Wars this is the first time I've watched Star Wars, but I mean I've read and looked at so much fandom crap about Star Wars that really out of historical context. I think if you put it really interesting to watch. I think it's really well done. The back half, the newer trilogy, doesn't hold as much water compared to the first two, but all in all, I mean, I think a well-written story from the end to beginning, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. I mean, obviously, Star Wars is a very large part of my life, so I'm a lot more familiar with it. But honestly, what do you think took you so long to actually sit down and watch all 9 films?
Man, it's just a lot. I feel like it's almost like I was almost gatekeeping from the Star Wars community, just because there's so much to it. I just never really the chance to just start and just watch it from end to finish. I mean, like Lego Star Wars games. It's like I used to play on the GameCube, and I for the original trilogy on the GameCube, and so I powered through those. So I was familiar with, never really sat down, just took the time to really get into it.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the Lego Star Wars games. I think those are pretty much everyone's introduction to Star Wars from our generation, our age group. So, but the fact that it took you this long from playing those games to actually translate that into sitting down and watching the movies, I think that's interesting. But is there anything that sticks out to you that is very memorable, whether that be good or bad, from any of the 9 movies?
The amount of freaking memes in the Phantom Menace, right? I felt like I was settling into watching the Phantom Menace like I've before, just because of the sheer amount of memes that I've seen about it. I mean, I know you're a huge fan of Phantom Menace, and it's one of the better ones. In my opinion, I prefer Episode 1 just because I fucking love pod racing. I think pod racing is amazing, but yeah,
I think you mean Revenge of the Sith. You're talking about the third one, right?
yeah, third one's Phantom Menace, right?
The first one's Phantom Menace.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sith, that's right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The amount of memes that were generated out of even just of the prequels as a whole, I mean, it's incredible, the fact that this community has taken just specific scenes out of these movies and just made them immortal just through humor itself.
I mean, if you're not huge, into the sci-fi and stuff, who doesn't know Hello There, General Kenobi? It's just iconic.
Right. So, touching on what you said, though, I kind of want to break this down, film by film, and get your thoughts and kind of get your breakdown of what you thought of each of them. And being that the Phantom Menace is the first one, overall, scale of 1 to 10, where would you say the Phantom Menace ranks for you?
Phantom Menace, probably number 1, because we really get to see probably some of the best lightsaber dueling, I think, in the series, especially with Qui-Gon fighting Darth Maul. It just and the parallel I've read that they show in Clone Wars and all that. I really think it's number 1. I'm a huge origin story guy. I love origin stories. So if any read Percy Jackson, the first book, my favorite book. So I think it really does setting up a trilogy that really existed. I remember reading something about Lucas saying that he really wanted it to a universe that seems like it's already been around for forever, and that you're coming in really at the middle of the story, and you are. And I think the first movie really captured that and just set up the following up trilogy, and just that really connected it all together. I think it was brilliant.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you have it. So that's out of all 9 movies, that is your favorite.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm a sucker for pod racing. The pod racing sequence is probably one of my favorite sequences in Star Wars series. It's just, and then just the battle with Qui-Gon Jinn is just amazing. Probably one of my favorite duels.
Wow, that's different. That's because most people, if you ask Star Wars fans, the Phantom Menace ranks closer to the bottom.
Really?
If you exclude the sequel trilogy, which I think gets a tremendous amount of hate for no reason, if you're just looking at the original 6 films, the Phantom Menace is either 6 or 5 for most Star Wars fans. And me personally, I think all Star Wars is good Star Wars. I'm a shill through and through. So it's very difficult for me to sit down and actually rank all 9 or all 11 movies if you include the 2 spin-offs. But I mean, I agree with you. The Phantom Menace is up there as one of my favorites, just because the pod. You're right. The pod racing, the the Duel of the Fates with Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, and it spun off one of the greatest characters in the saga, or in the universe, in Darth Maul. Because even though he died in the Phantom Menace, Dave Filoni was able to bring him back as a pivotal character in the Clone Wars and even into Rebels. So, which I'm not sure if you had made it that far yet into the lore, but if you spend any amount of time on social media looking about Star Wars stuff, you'll see that it's Darth Maul comes back. It's not really a spoiler anymore. It happened.
Right.
Like
Right.
10
Yeah. No,
years ago.
I know he comes back. So yeah. Yeah. No, I'm much of an impact he made on the community, just like the one movie alone. Like, it's just like he's just one of those. He's very unique looking, but he's one of the recognizable characters, and just everyone knows what he's all about. So.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention, obviously, like I said, you're just taking your first step into a larger world. Brownie points if anyone got that. But yeah, looking deeper into it, Ray Park has become one of the most wholesome people who's ever come out of Star Wars. Like, he loves going to conventions. Mike, who's a great friend of mine, he's met Ray Park at Steel City Con before, and it turns out he's actually a fantastic guy. So knowing that he actually got an opportunity to continue to be this character in live action, it would have been 18 years later when Solo came out, and he was able to reprise his role in live action, because at this point he had more or less been replaced by Sam Witwer, the voice actor for Maul in the Clone Wars. It was nice to see that he was able to be reintegrated into the live action aspect, even though he was still voiced by Sam Witwer in Solo.
Gotcha.
But
I didn't know
was
that.
there anyone? Oh, go ahead.
I didn't know that I came back in Solo. I didn't realize that he makes an appearance there.
My bad. So I should have hit the spoiler alert button. But yeah, no, it's a small cameo, but he makes an appearance in Solo. I won't say why or how, but he is in the movie. Again, the movie came out in 23 days of this recording. It'll been out 4 years ago. So, but yeah, was there any character in particular that you would say was your favorite from the Phantom Menace?
Favorite character from the Phantom Menace. I think Padme's honestly a badass. I'm hugely into politics, and really reminds me of like the core foundations of really what this country's built on, just being able to rise up, have a say in our government, and really make actual change. I think like throughout the whole movie, she kicks ass the entire movie, and even from the reveal where she actually like she's just one of the handmaids before, just the whole. Natalie Portman really brings this life, and it's amazing. She just kicks ass the whole series.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, with the politics thing, George Lucas always wanted Star Wars to be somewhat of a mirror of what's currently going on in, you know, in reality, just in this sci-fi fantasy sort of lens, if you will. But so again, to touch on the politics, you know, a lot of the big complaint of a lot of people of the Phantom Menace, or even the prequels as a whole, is they were too overly political. Did you get that sense at all when you watched the first three?
I think it made it kind of confusing going back between like especially for the uninitiated who's only seen the original I've literally only played the Lego version of the original, and so it made it a little confusing trying to figure out who like the Trade Federation and then versus the Republic, and then how that's to the original trilogy. I think taking something very real like that, like having that political discourse in a universe like that, really fleshes it out and really captures George Lucas what he was trying to do by having it seem like you've been in the universe forever. Like it just makes the movie seem so much deeper and much more invested, because they're real issues that have long-lasting effects. I mean, like the whole war against the like spans 40, 50, 60 years. I mean, and it really, like, instead of like jumping from conflict, it really sets up the just Eddie, big bad evil guy for the entire series. And like I said, it was a little points, but for the most part, I think it really drew me in just to see like how real like a sci-fi could be.
Right, and technically the actual galactic civil war against the Empire was only in official time. If you look at it on a timeline, the Empire was only around for officially 20. It would have been 23 or 24 years. However, I see where you say 30, 40, 50, 60 years, because it lingered after the destruction of the second Death Star, and it was very well foreshadowed and set up in the prequels, which took place. It would have been 13 years before, or the prequels took place over 13 years. So
yeah, because there's 30 years in between the original and the newest trilogy, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's not the First Order. That's not the Empire. That's right.
Right. It's the Empire 2.
God, yeah.
So
pretty much.
Right. But yeah, so I have to ask, because this is everyone's joking point and just the laughing stock of Star Wars. What are your thoughts on Jar Jar Binks?
On Jar Jar Binks? Oh, you know, he may be a very, very great character, but he really has like a lot in my heart. Like, just because he doesn't know what the heck is going on for most of it, and I love reading about like the theories that Jar Jar Binks is actually like in secret, you know. But I really think like there she kind of gave him, but I mean he kind of fucking up by Palpatine like a war, like emergency war powers, but at the same time like make it like a figurehead for the Senate and putting him up there with the ranks of I think as like a redemption arc from this silly stupid character they had, and standing I thought was amazing. He's got a special place in my heart.
I'm shocked you made it that far down the iceberg to make it to the Darth Jar Jar theories. So that's
come on, who hasn't heard of Darth? Come on, he's what, like a master of the drunken fist and all that. Come on, I love reading about that.
Yeah, that's most people don't know about the Darth Jar Jar theories. When most casual fans don't know about the Darth Jar Jar, but if you haven't, it's a great subreddit. Go check it out. But so I mean, I guess we can wrap up the Phantom Menace there. Unless do you have what closing thoughts do you have about the Phantom Menace?
Thought it was really funny that Anakin's basically like Force Jesus, like it was just I kind of something unexpected that I didn't realize, something that I hadn't picked up from the fandom that he was just like a manifestation of so I thought that was kind of funny learning about that, and he's like, so where's his father? Oh, he doesn't have one. He's like, okay, yeah, sure, I guess he's just like a Force being. That's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Lucas loved his parallels and his poetry, and yeah, Anakin was a parallel to Christianity and Jesus, so it makes sense that that Shmi Skywalker was essentially the Virgin Mary. So it's Lucas to quote the man himself, it's like poetry, it rhymes. And that is an actual quote. So yeah, so I guess kind of shifting into Attack of the Clones, which takes place 10 years after the Phantom Menace. Again, this is if you're ranking the first 6 on from worst to best, Attack of the Clones is usually that 6th answer. So I'm curious to see what you thought about this one, and I'll give my thoughts after you.
My one complaint about Attack of the Clones was they couldn't find anyone better than Hayden Christensen.
Okay, first off, we will not tolerate any Hayden Christensen slander on this podcast. So you better tread lightly, my friend.
All right. It's like, I don't know. You know, the iconic, I hate sand.
So I don't like sand.
Like that.
It's coarse,
I don't
rough,
like sand.
irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I've got to hate on it. Like that was. I won't say any more about Hayden Christensen. How about that? Just wasn't. He kind of killed it for me.
Well, look at it this way. I will forever use this example of why Anakin spoke so awkwardly. Imagine this. You are born into slavery as a child, and then you shift immediately from being taken away from your mother in slavery on a desolate desert planet to then being raised by space monks who forbid any attachment and are basically celibate, even though there is some gray area in that according to the lore now. When do you think he learned general conversation?
I guess I guess you don't really have a lot of opportunity on chicks if you're becoming a Jedi Master. So it's
bingo. You proved my point.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Now, I'm not saying that the bad dialogue. First of all, I'm not saying the dialogue was bad. I again am a shill. I think the dialogue was written. I think it was written for the characters to portray something that isn't easy to grasp. It's almost Shakespearean, which I think was the direction that Lucas was going for. But I'm not going to say that the bad dialogue was intentional. So I think it's slightly misinterpreted, but I don't think that it's inherently bad.
Did you think that Anakin came off like a little bit like a dick in the second?
Well, yeah, he's an. I mean, you and I both remember what we were like at 19 years old.
Oh,
Now
that's true.
imagine being raised by space monks at that age.
I guess that yeah, I'd probably be a little rebellious if I was raised by bogeys like that.
And just to add one more layer into this, imagine being not only raised by celibate space monks, but then also be told you're space Jesus. And you are the only person capable of destroying the entirety of evil in the universe.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm good,
you're
man.
gonna think kind of highly of yourself, and you're gonna be a bit rebellious. So
I did like that we got to see a little bit more of his flying skills, which I think, like I was really upset that we only got to see pod racing. I talk about pod racing all the time. I'm such a fucking simp for pod racing, but like I'm upset we only got to see pod racing once. But I'm glad to see him because they're on how do you say it? Coruscant?
Coruscant.
Yeah, Coruscant. Yeah, so they're in the city setting like that. It was kind of neat being able to see him kind of finagle his way monster or on a speeder.
Yeah, those, and again, everyone likes to hate on the fact that it was mostly CGI, but I think that people overlook the Coruscant scenes as those are almost 100% 3D rendered, and that was in 2002.
Yeah.
So I agree. That's
amazing.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because again, I'm a shill for good set design, whether that be CGI or practical, and I think ILM knocked this one out of the park. But so moving past your traitorous Hayden Christensen slander, what are the rest of your overall thoughts? And I guess the big thing I'm curious about is what did you think of actual space Jesus, Ewan McGregor in this film?
Oh, I love him, man. As a Jedi Master, I think Qui-Gon Jinn almost would have been better for Anakin. I think progressive, loosening, not morals, I guess, but loosening of what am I trying to say here? They get a little bit more wild from Masterness, I think. Like I'm just imagining Ewan McGregor being a fucking thorn in Qui-Gon Jinn for the entire of his apprenticeship, and so I think he as he very solidly establishes himself as a father in the second film, and I think that's an amazing thing, especially for someone who's trying to raise Jesus. Like I think Ewan McGregor, he knocked it out of the park. It was amazing.
Yeah, and with the Qui-Gon comment, that's why it's called Duel of the Fates, because in the Phantom Menace, not only you can break it down to either very simple or very complex. On a surface level, the Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul duel is good versus evil. It's the bad guys versus the good guys. If you look at it a lot deeper, it is truly a duel of the fates. It's if evil wins, then Qui-Gon is killed. Anakin falls to the dark side and creates the Empire and is this looming evil figure over the galaxy. Whereas if Qui-Gon won, it would Anakin, because Qui-Gon was going to be a better teacher for Anakin, and he would have, because Qui-Gon was so lax with the Jedi code. That's why he was never on the Jedi Council, because he didn't always see eye to eye with the Council and their motives. So
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize the Council.
Yeah, Qui-Gon was never on the Council because he never fully agreed with everything that the Council was doing. And you can see that in the Phantom Menace when he blatantly disobeys Master Yoda and says, "No, I will train this boy." So, yeah, you're 100% right in thinking that Qui-Gon would have been a better teacher for Anakin. So, but you're also right, and Obi-Wan definitely took that step from Padawan learner to being, the master to the apprentice. And he wasn't fully ready, but he was as ready as he could have been, if that makes sense.
Do you think he can Anakin at all? Is that something that do you think he really best he could, or do you think he really just dropped the ball on it?
I think that he did the best that he could with the opportunity that was in front of him. And let me break that down a little bit more. I think with the climate of the Republic, being that Palpatine was already the Supreme Chancellor, being that they were on the brink of war with the Trade Federation and the CIS, there's not a whole lot that you can do when you're supposed to be teaching someone, we're the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, and like Mace Windu said, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. It's hard trying to teach someone these very good values and very white morals, when you're in the middle of a war and you're suddenly thrusted into being generals and commanders in an army. So the Clone War was such a departure from the Jedi Code that I don't think that Obi-Wan really had a chance to actually train Anakin and avoid him turning to the dark side.
I really like how they started to set that up too. I think the and especially the newest trilogy really don't have a solid concept of what the dark side is. Like, we just naturally as human beings understand the light side, like what that's all about, like just being good people. I mean, and it's like you said, with the relationship to Christianity, like, it's like the light side of the Force is a clear parallel to the basic ideals of Christianity. But my favorite overarching ideas that the trilogy really put out there was that because it's like search your feelings, like use your feelings, like it really explains and how the dark side comes from these feelings and why the Jedi were so bad have any attachments.
Yeah, and you also got to remember, I mean, just from a real world standpoint of, when the original trilogy was created, it was 1977 through 1983. And then when the prequels came out, it was an entire 16 years of expanded universe lore that was created. So there was a lot of time to actually flesh out the lore and the backstory of the universe. So there's a lot of time to create more story in there and to have more ideas and to actually flesh out these characters. Whereas I want to say Lucas started working on Star Wars in 1974, I think. Don't quote me on that. I know I'm probably going to get hate if I'm wrong on that one. Oh, you're not a real Star Wars fan. You don't know when he started working on it. But yeah, so you got to remember, like, there was a whole lot of time, real world time to create, okay, what is, because they're from I want to say it was the Knights of the Old Republic game. There's a Jedi code and there is a Sith code. So that was obviously, that wasn't around in the late 70s, early 80s when the first three movies came out. So yeah, that's my take as to why it's a little more fleshed out. But it makes sense because obviously with time there's more time for ideas to develop. Now, the big thing that everyone likes to that nobody likes to hate is the Battle of Geonosis. The very end, the grand spectacle. What are your thoughts on overall? What did you think of the final act of the film?
So set the scene for me. It gets a little fuzzy in between of the end of Attack of the Clones and the Revenge of the Sith.
So we'll start with Anakin and Padme. They come out of the tunnel, and the probably my least favorite, my favorite hateable line is I am so truly deeply in love with you. And they come out of the tunnel, and the Beyond the Stars theme swells, and they're the bug people. To break it down as simple as possible, it's the planet with the bug people and Count Dooku and Jango Fett. And they're tied up to the posts, and you've got the big Cloverfield monsters trying to kill them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I think from a straight because I've got some experience with like stage combat from a strict like spectacle, like the word you use. It's amazing to describe for the Battle of Geonosis. It really is like a big like fan service like spectacle, because you see it all. You see the blasters, the flyers, you see the lightsaber duels and all that, and really just the superiority of the Jedi. From a stage combat point of view, the sequence is one of the better ones in the entire series. Just from just the end of ways that they really fleshed out, I forget what Oak does during the whole sequence, but I know basically just being a space cowboy out there wrangling some Cloverfield monsters, and Padme's really doing what she does best, which is use her and it just gets herself to a better vantage point. I think it was a great example of showing and not telling what these characters were all about.
Yeah. To quote Obi-Wan, Padme really seemed to be on top of things. So, an excellent quote from the movie there. Yes. But yeah, no, you're right. It's definitely one of the grander spectacles in the prequel trilogy. Because it's just, you're right. It's a giant set piece to this was the Jedi at the peak of their power in the prequel trilogy, because this is the crux right before the war. This is right before the shot heard around the world, if you will. So it's I love the Battle of Geonosis, and then of course everyone's favorite, the introduction of the clone troopers, the Phase 1. And one of my favorite scenes is seeing the LAAT, the Republic gunship, comes down and just mows down battle droids with the two laser turrets on the side. It's one of the best spots in that movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, then
you also get a great sense of boating, though, like seeing these just freaking powerhouses of come in, and it's just knowing what's gonna happen. Like, I was honestly, I couldn't swear Order 66 was in the series, like watching the first 3 episodes. So I was sitting there waiting for the battle to really turn. But yeah, the entrance of the clones is just an amazing part.
Yeah, and I totally glossed over the whole Camino section, but this is where we get our introduction to Jango Fett, the blueprint for the Grand Army of the Republic, the clone troopers. So, thoughts on Tamora Morrison? Did you know anything going into this about Tamora Morrison and what character that he played?
No, I don't even recognize the name. Who is that?
He was Jango Fett, the bounty.
Okay, yeah, he played Jango Fett. Yeah, no, I I didn't. I mean, because everybody's all about Boba Fett. So hear too much about Jango Fett. Like I knew that he was the basis for the clones, but that was pretty much all I had him. Like we saw a little bit in towards the beginning of the movie when he's trying to Padme, but other than that, I thought a really good job of like fleshing him out as a character. Just small things like the fact that he wanted to keep one of the clones as his own kid. I thought it was like just a great detail that threw in there and really set up the original trilogy and the appearance of Boba Fett. Make it feel like some kind of way thing. Oh shit, we gotta throw him in there somehow, and so.
Which that's how a lot of people saw that is, oh, cool. Boba Fett as a kid, fantastic. But I agree with you. It's nice to see that these characters get fleshed out and have a real backstory as opposed to just like, here's a cool bounty hunter with this Roman style face, or like the Roman style helmet is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, a lot of people saw that as, oh, cool. Boba Fett as a kid, and he's a clone now. Awesome. But yeah, yeah, Tamora Morrison is also, he's another one where it's nice to see him actually return to the saga after so many years, because the Book of Boba Fett just came out, started in December, so it was nice to see Tamora Morrison make a return there. But yeah, favorite character from Attack of the Clones?
Character from Attack of the Clones, Samuel Jackson. Man. Gotta love just he really. I think because we first meet we first meet the Council in the Phantom Menace, but really,
right.
You gotta love Samuel Jackson. Just iconic with his purple lightsaber, and like it just an amazing showing from Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, and a little backstory on Samuel L. Jackson, which I'm sure obviously there's probably a lot of people who are Star Wars fans know this, but for you, the uninitiated, two good facts about the purple lightsaber. One, for the production designers, they let him keep his lightsaber, and they had BMF engraved on the ignition or the igniter switch.
BMF stand for
bad motherfucker.
Hell yeah, that's my boy Samuel Jackson.
So
didn't he tell him like, listen, I'm gonna have a motherfucking purple lightsaber, or I'm not gonna do this movie? Well,
so that was my other point. Is when George Lucas when they were filming Attack of the Clones, he went up to George Lucas. He's like, well, can I have a purple lightsaber? He's like, well, the Jedi, it's usually it's blue or green. And he's like, right, but I want a purple lightsaber. I want to be able to pick myself out of the crowd. He's like, oh, well, we'll see. And then he didn't know. I want to say he didn't know until he actually saw. It was either a rough cut or the final cut where he saw that he had a purple lightsaber.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a behind the scenes clip that I'll have to send you after this of him talking to George Lucas about getting a purple lightsaber.
For sure. Is there lore surrounding the lightsabers? Like, is there that there's just blue and green? Like, I've heard theories about like green lightsaber users are supposed to be more force sensitive, kind of, and then the blue are supposed to be more dual thing. What's your take on that?
So I never got into the lightsaber lore, because there's a lot more than blue and green now. There is a shit ton of different colors. There is red, green, blue, purple, orange, yellow, white, black, and I'm probably missing some because there's like two different shades of blue, two different shades of red.
Gotcha.
There's a lot. But yeah, I never really got into the lore of the different lightsaber colors. I just, whenever someone asks me, it's like, oh, what color lightsaber would you have? Purple, because I think it looks aesthetically pleasing. That's about it. But I think I heard correctly that the lore on the purple lightsaber is someone who has mastered both using the light and the dark side in combat, so they're more aggressive combatants. I don't have anything to back that up. I heard that before, and I've just stuck with that as my headcanon, so
All right.
that's what it is for me. But I also guess I glossed over Count Dooku, Christopher Lloyd.
Yes. How can we forget? Yes.
Yeah, one of the best characters in the prequel trilogy, and one of the most respected actors to come out of Star Wars, or come into Star Wars, I should say.
Yeah. Does he die in episode 2, or is that episode 3 where Anakin kills him?
That's episode 3. In episode 2, he escapes after dismembering Anakin, poking Obi-Wan in the leg and the arm.
Yes.
And then proceeds to drop a pillar on both Anakin and Obi-Wan, which Yoda has to catch.
Yeah.
And then he weasels away.
That's an iconic exchange. Like, I can't even believe forgot to talk about the duel between Anakin and Dooku. Like, really, I was the beginning of kind of Anakin and how, and his aggressiveness and maybe his anger and maybe a little bit of that fear that really comes to fruition in the 3rd episode. Using because he ends up dual wielding lightsabers for some of it, and the aggressiveness of his lightsaber dueling style was just amazing. And I like how you said like poked Obi-Wan. He really did. I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and with the Yoda versus Count Dooku duel, I think it was very well done. A lot of people don't like that Yoda has a lightsaber or fights with a lightsaber, but it only makes sense that the Grand Master of the Jedi would be an excellent swordsman.
Yeah.
And it's really a battle of wits between the two of them to who is the smartest in combat, because Dooku was also one of the best duelists in the Jedi Order before he defected, and seeing them not only duel with the lightsaber but also duel with their mind and see who is the smartest and who is the most apt with the Force, if you will. So I think that was very, very cleverly done and very well put together.
I was theory today that particular exchange where Yoda, like, because in the beginning of their duel, like, Yoda can, then they attempt to fight only with the Force. But then what is Count Dooku? He says something about his Yoda can't imagine his powers or something like that, or underestimates his powers. I'm probably mixing up my quotes, but I was reading
up your quotes.
Yeah, I was reading about how Dooku's dark side and his dueling ability, because as the uninitiated, I see Yoda as probably one of the most powerful forces in the series. To see him get outmatched by Dooku and almost struggle against him in the Force-based combat is really, really interesting.
Yeah, arguably Yoda is number 3 or 4 at the time. 1 being Anakin, 2 being the Emperor or Chancellor Palpatine at the time, and then 3 and 4 being either Yoda or Count Dooku. They were 2 of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy at the time. But kind of shifting now to before we go to Revenge of the Sith, which is my all-time favorite movie. I've seen it over 1,000 times. It is my comfort movie through and through.
How many copies do you own?
I think it's 112. I think it is
112.
But before we get to there, I Attack of the Clones. Where would you say it ranks on 1 to 9?
Oh, that's a tough. I guess it makes it easier 1 to 6 because the new definitely on the bottom for me. I'd have to say somewhere in the middle there, probably like 4 or 5.
Okay, so it's not the worst, but it's not the best.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I hope you're ready because I am a plethora of knowledge on Revenge of the Sith. So I'm here to answer any and all questions that you might have.
I'm
Again,
ready, Master.
careful for the Hayden Christensen slander, because I think he is phenomenal in this movie.
I think he redeems himself in the 3rd episode. I think he does a great job.
Starting from the very top, when you first see the 2 Jedi interceptors come down over Coruscant, right after the crawl, what was your immediate thought there?
Okay, you're gonna have to set the scene for me. The movie's a little hazy.
So it's the very first shot that you see. It's the crawl ends, and then you hear the loud bass drums, and then you see the 2 Jedi interceptors come down over top of the big capital ships, and it's just it's mayhem. It's space warfare, and it's one continuous scene until you get into the cockpit of Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Right, because Obi-Wan gets his fucking ass kicked that entire starfight. That's right. As the uninitiated, like I know it's your favorite movie, but I know huge feeling seeing them come down over that. I was ready. I really enjoyed the interaction between Anakin while in battle, but the initial. I'm sorry, man. I just that didn't forge with me.
Now that one hurts a little. I'm not gonna lie, because that's one of the greatest feats of computer generated imaging of all time, in my personal opinion. Seeing the Venator class Star Destroyers and the Separatist capital ships, and the Invisible Hand is the name of General Grievous' ship. Seeing those, it's one of the most beautiful scenes in my personal opinion. But yeah, I think on repeat viewings you'll have a little more.
That's what I'm thinking. We should revisit. We'll do a whole. I'll rewatch the 3rd episode. We should do like a whole 3rd episode video. Just I'll rewatch that one. We'll get into it.
Yeah, you and I should do a live commentary.
I think that would be cool. I think that would be cool.
So
yeah, I think I'd have a lot more thoughts on it after seeing it.
Yeah, well then I guess we'll skip past that as much as it breaks my heart. But yeah, then I guess moving on to the them rescuing the Chancellor on Grievous's ship. Did anything there really strike a chord with you? Whether that be the witty dialogue, the camaraderie between Anakin and Obi-Wan, or the rematch between Anakin and Obi-Wan and Count Dooku.
I think the rematch was fucking brutal. Because Anakin's really huge redemption for him, and he's, like I said, episode 2 really sets up the emotional force in Anakin. That was, like I said, one of the overarching themes that I saw in the 2nd trilogy, and himself redeem himself, but then also have but do it iconic, and then watching him just really begin his descent, the start fall. I think, and just having him finish Count Dooku with dual wielding lightsabers, really, and the symbolism of him holding a red and a blue lightsaber, just amazing.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like in that whole scene is that Obi-Wan gets taken out so quickly and so easily.
Oh yeah.
But
I understand that he's a space Jesus, you know, um, but they try too hard to highlight Anakin's strength, and then just made everyone else seem inconsequential. Like Obi-Wan was by Qui-Gon Jinn. Like he should be a better duelist. Like Dooku's one of the best duelists in the Star Wars universe, but like shouldn't have been just like
right, and I think, you know, a counterpoint to that, it shows how strong Dooku really was. Is yes, Obi-Wan was one of the greatest Jedi. There's a reason he was on the Jedi Council. Uh, but Dooku is stronger, and he's better in a fight than Obi-Wan. However, you know, just from a fanboy standpoint, it sucks to see because you want to see more of Obi-Wan in action, but that's not what his character's about. It's never been what his character's about. He's always been just this master figure to Luke and Anakin. So, but yeah, I think the symbolism of Anakin besting Count Dooku and then holding the red and the blue lightsabers and in his turn happening so quickly there. I think you're spot on in the excellent foreshadowing that took place. But yeah, then after that it slows down a little bit. That it's more so to kind of to flesh out the story of the film a little bit, specifically with the Anakin and Padme stuff and her being pregnant with Luke and Leia, and then, you know, you get into some of the more deeper elements of Palpatine starting to put these thoughts in Anakin's head of, you're better than the Jedi. You're the greatest Jedi who's ever lived. You know, you should be a Jedi Master. You should be on the Council. Did you what are your thoughts on how that was written and how that was set up?
I think the political warfare was probably one of my favorite parts of Episode 3, because I like I said before, I'm a sucker for the real, like, for life situations like that, but it just really made everything make sense, and to see this clear and it wasn't like a huge, like, remember at one point they revealed that Palpatine is Darth Sidious, but really, like, watching him reveal himself to Anakin was super masterfully done. Like, I feel like it would be really easy just to be like I'm Darth Sidious, you know, the whole plan, I'm coming to the dark side because they're so powerful, and he's just like, well, I don't want to. It really, like, set the stage for a believable trend to evil. Like it was just, I was just reading today about how much of a masterful manipulator Palpatine is, and like it just, you're watching him play chess, man. You're watching him play chess with Anakin and with the Jedi Council, and just with the whole in general. It's just, it's amazing watching him interact with Anakin, and amazing that the Jedi Council, with all their were really like, hey, Anakin, go spend more time with this dude that we're suspicious. Like, hey, it's Jesus, the one that's literally prophesied as the bound evil. Go hang out with the thing is evil. Like, I just think really fleshed out a really believable turn to the dark side for him. Something that I don't think that I really see, especially in the new trilogy. So
yeah, and I really love how it was long and drawn out, where, you know, he would give these subtle hints of, you know, Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Oh, it's not a story the Jedi would tell you. How would you know that if you're, if you're just a politician? The fact that Anakin never really picked up on it is a little concerning, but it lays that seed of he really trusted Palpatine, and he didn't think that he was capable of such evil that the Jedi Council suspected of him. And back to your point of, oh yeah, you're the chosen one. Go hang out with this guy more that we really think is evil and up to no good. It's because they thought that he was the amalgamation of all things good in the universe. If he was the one to bring balance to the Force, which he did technically, they didn't think that he could be turned until it was too late, and you see that in the scene with Yoda and Mace Windu and Obi-Wan on the gunship, where, is he not the chosen one? Is he not to bring balance to the Force? They realized too late that he was very susceptible to be turned to the dark side.
And I think also like beyond the obvious point of Anakin's concern for Padme and for his unborn son, and the nightmares that he was having that caused him just this intense anguish and anxiety about the whole situation, was his relationship from the beginning sets him up for a false faith in Senator Palpatine, because was seen as human from Naboo, isn't he? He was like a senator from powerful from Naboo, and so it really, his Padme, beyond the obvious, really set him up to have this negative relationship with Palpatine. I think just the layering there was brilliant.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and not only that, but he knew how to manipulate Anakin specifically. Whereas, oh, you told me about the Sand People and your mother, and you had these visions, which I still believe that Palpatine was the one that gave Anakin those. He was the one who was giving him those visions of his mother dying and of Padme dying, and a little bit of the Force. And I forget what there's actually a term for it in the lore, but it's escaping me now. But I still believe that Palpatine was the one who was seriously influencing that. Just because I don't believe that he ever told Palpatine of his visions of Padme dying.
Mm.
But in that scene where he reveals himself as Darth Sidious, he tells him, "I can help you save your wife from certain death." So that's what leads me to believe that Palpatine was behind those visions and actually corrupting him to really to prod at his weakest point.
Do you think it was believable? You're bringing up the slaughter of the Sand People. Do you think it's believable that someone like Padme, a force for pretty much like human rights, for the galaxy, would still be like, okay, I know it was a point for her realizing he's really the dark side. Because she still stands by him even after learning of his slaughter, just full slaughter of these. Do you think it's believable that someone in his position would still support him like that?
Yes, and I think it can be broken down into either one of two things. It's and just as simply to put it as possible, it's either rose-tinted glasses or it's a savior complex. On one hand, you got, I'm so infatuated with this, with the chosen one. which I find to be less believable. Or it's I see that, or she sees this really broken person who's got a lot of good intentions that is just, you know, taken away from his mother at a very young age and sheltered from the universe for so long, that there's a lot of good that can be had, and she's the one who can fix him, and she's the one who can actually save him. So that's the way I interpret that.
That's a great take on that. I never really thought about it. That like I thought it was always very cut and dry. Like if dude, the father of mine told me, hey, you know, my mom died. Oh crap, man, that's really hard. Slaughtered the people that did it, like even the women and the children, and you're like, oh man, that's bad, man. Like I don't think I can be, but I guess with the savior complex, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't have I'll save that for later, but kind of moving forward with the, you know, after Palpatine finally reveals himself, you know, you've got that duel between Mace Windu and Darth Sidious, which a lot of people love because of the iconicness behind it. I don't really stand behind it all that much because I think it's I think it falls into the same category that everyone gripes about Yoda versus Count Dooku. I don't feel like Darth Sidious should be, you know, I don't think he should be fighting with a lightsaber, no less against Mace Windu, and lose, because he's the most powerful Sith. He is the Sith master. But I look past that to you know, you have the rise of the Emperor and Darth Vader at that point. To you see Anakin truly struggle with the pull to the dark side, where, you know, Palpatine's gotten in his head, you know, I can help you save the one you love, and, you know, he sees this as the Jedi who have been holding him back, and the person who's been trying to help him succeed, help him become a Jedi Master in his eyes up until this point, and actually showing him the flaws in the Jedi in the Jedi Council. So, what is your take on that scene in particular of Anakin struggling to choose between helping Mace Windu and helping Darth Sidious?
It was a really, it was the sheer amount of symbolism in like it's probably the most clear examples of the struggle of balance between the dark and the light. I think just the setup for this struggle, it's a huge turning point. Like it's the creation of Darth Vader. I think it's a huge point in the Skywalker Saga. And I think just you look back at that scene and watch Palpatine control that whole thing. I feel like the entire time there was in his mind that Anakin was going to turn to the dark side, and I think watching Anakin with that, and then solidify this idea that he's gonna put his emotional attachment and show everything else is really solidified. And I think to do anything different been a betrayal of character for him. I think we really watched Palpatine play chess, and this is his game set match, right here in that moment. I think it was just pivotal. The dialogue was so well done, and one of my favorite parts is watching, like, as a master manipulator, and you said, like, you don't think that he should have been beaten with a saber in his hand. I think as a master manipulator, really break that mold of someone manipulating, but as soon as they get caught, just being taken away in handcuffs, just like watching him just wreck on Mace Windu and really just plays up until the end, even when he's being turned into this freaking monster base by using his force abilities, just controlling the whole game. Like I had a first second that he in a situation.
Yeah, I see that. The biggest gripe I have though is Mace Windu was supposed to be this excellent swordsman, but not the best. Because if you look at the there's a quote from Attack of the Clones where Obi-Wan says something along the lines of, if you used as much wit as you do, something or other, it's along the lines of if you didn't run your mouth as much as you did, you put this much effort into training, you'd rival. The quote is, you'd rival Master Yoda as a swordsman. That took a lot to get out, but the fact that Palpatine beats Yoda but loses to Mace Windu fairly handedly is like you said, a betrayal of character to Palpatine's credit. I think that's me being a nitpicky fan. That now, do I think it cripples the story? Absolutely not. Do I think it destroys his character and what everything else is built? No, not at all. But I think it's a little ham-fisted to say that Yoda loses to the Emperor, but Mace Windu beats him fairly easily. So, after that, we've got to talk about it. Order 66. Oh. That had to trigger, because you said you were waiting for it and you were kind of clenching for it.
Devastating. Just imagining the sheer scale of devastation. Watching you feel the law, the scene with the youngling, just I think it's you see a lot of like similar, like the one boy that's highlighted in the scene where he slays the younglings looks a lot like Anakin as a kid. Like there's not, like, give him a couple more years, give him a shaggy haircut, and there's like a lot like Anakin, and just, and I think the best part of that is seeing the turmoil within him. Like, his mind, like, I'm really gonna announce the Jedi, that I'm gonna save my family with the dark side, but I'm really gonna do what it takes. It's like it's being Padme against the world. I don't seriously think of him as Palpatine as a master for long, and so really just him throwing it all away in this one massive, devastating scene. It was just wild to me, just absolutely wild.
Yeah, and I hope you're prepared to have your heart broken again in this moment. I believe this comes from the Revenge of the Sith novelization, but Anakin was very torn about going into the Jedi Temple and slaughtering the younglings. However, with it's sad to even say, but the quote is, "Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?" As soon as that the youngling says Master Skywalker, that flips a switch in his brain of, I'm not a master. I wasn't made a master. That's why we're here. They denied me the rank of master, and that just sent him into a rage.
Wow.
So.
Wow, that's brutal.
That's
brutal.
He was very torn inside, but the Jedi struck such a chord with him by snubbing him of, you're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master, that it flipped that that flipped a switch, and it was like, all right, cool. I'm good with killing kids. Let's get to it. Another day in the office. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Order 66 in any of the mediums, because it's been done a handful of times now, whether that be it in games, in live action, or in animation. It still hurts that, because the music, the John Williams score, which we haven't even talked about, is
Yes.
it's so impactful, and it is so just heart-wrenching to see these characters that you've watched for 6 years now get taken out by their own men. And especially watching the Clone Wars and seeing the bond that these Jedi build with their battalion of clones.
Mhm.
It's hard to go back and watch that scene, knowing everything that we know now of like the obviously you haven't seen the Clone Wars yet. However, seeing Plo Koon get taken out by the wolf pack is it's a legion of clones. Who the Commander Wolf is one of the best characters and has the best armor in the Clone Wars. Neither here nor there, but knowing their backstory and seeing him get taken out by his own men, or seeing Commander Cody take out Obi-Wan off of the ledge of Utapau, that one hurts too. And then something I do know from the novelization of whenever Cody got Order 66, he the one thing running through his mind wasn't, wow, I have fought side by side by Obi-Wan for the last 3 years now, and now I have to kill him. It was, come on, man, I just gave him back the lightsaber. Why couldn't this have come like 5 minutes earlier? I swear to God, there is a paragraph in the novelization of Revenge of the Sith where it's, if only I didn't give him that damn lightsaber. But yeah, so yeah, and then again, we're glossing over a lot of things, but General Grievous is one of the best characters to hardly get used in a movie.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in the Clone Wars animated series. I'm ready to get more backstory on his little mysterious little thing that hasn't appeared yet in the Clone Wars series. So I'm like 5 or 6 episodes in. Just how can you not love a 4 lightsaber wielding helicopter with legs of death? How can you not love that?
Yeah, and I won't get too much into his backstory because I don't want to dive too deep into it, but no, he's got one of the most intricate, interesting backgrounds there is, where
because he's not like droid, right? He's there's something like to him.
Yeah, so he of his race of people, he was an excellent warrior, to where he just kept getting these cybernetic upgrades to make himself better and better in combat. So
Interesting.
But to kind of put a bow on the prequel trilogy, let's talk about the end, the battle of the heroes, the scene that I have tattooed on my body. What are your overall thoughts on the Anakin versus Obi-Wan? Did it meet your expectations, underwhelm, or overwhelm you?
It was everything that should be and everything that it should have been. It was just the sword, the dialogue. You were the chosen one. You were Anakin. Like just heart wrenching. Like it really brings everything that's been building up in the last 2 movies to fruition. And like I said, in just duel. So like solidifying Anakin's characterization by watching him make these bold and dangerous maneuvers, and watching Obi-Wan just cut him down and leaving him there. Like just how do you, like, he had to be dying on the inside. Like if I feel like if there was a point in when Obi-Wan was closest to the dark side, it'd probably have to be that moment. Like imagine the anguish, the anger of having to kill your own apprentice, someone who was supposed to bring balance to your universe, like something with a war deal with for 3-4 years now. I can't remember the timeline on that. I think war starts at what the first 3 years. Yeah, just this huge, just his son basically, beyond Luke being ones like or Ben Kenobi being Luke's like your almost, but to have an apprentice that he's basically all of his meaningful life, and having to cut him down was just heart wrenching.
Yeah, I can't even put it to words how much that scene means to me. It's not only me personally, like I can remember, I can still visually see it like it was yesterday, seeing that scene for the very first time in theaters back in 2005. And it's still one of the most powerful scenes in the entirety of Star Wars. Like, yeah, people like to look to the I am your father scene, or the, I am a Jedi like my father before me. But I think that Anakin, the you were my brother, Anakin, I loved you. I think that was raw emotion that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen were able to very expertly display in that scene. I think is often overlooked by the nostalgia of the original trilogy. By some of the, now people our age, there's a reason there has been a resurgence of the prequels and a newfound appreciation for the prequels. It's because those movies were made for our generation. The Star Wars has always been for kids. It's always been made for kids. It's never been an adult movie, ever. Mm-hmm. Lucas always wanted to put these movies out for kids. Think of it like the Marvel movies. Yeah. Same way. They're made for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. They're not made for your 44-year-old. Well, yeah, I guess kind of.
But some parts of them are.
Yeah, but at its core, Star Wars is for kids. So that's why you see the resurgence of the, love for episodes 1, 2, and 3. But I think nowadays you're gonna see a lot more appreciation for those 3 movies from all fans. And I don't know if you've ever met my dad in person, but I always thought it was funny where growing up, I kept it to myself because my dad always he slandered the prequels up and down. Ugh. And everyone did. I mean, it was, it was so far from Star Wars. It's, the dialogue is bad. It's all CGI. There's no practical effects. And now I have to look no further than my own household of, I love the prequels. I've always loved the prequels. And I think that's because our generation is older now and we have a more vocal voice of, hey, we love these movies. They're not as bad as everyone said they were back in the early 2000s. So
yeah, I can't even fathom thinking that they were bad movies.
Right.
I think George Lucas is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and that's, a lot of that is because Lucas produced, directed, and wrote all 3 of the prequels. It was all him. Where the original trilogy he wrote all of them, but he didn't direct all 3. So it's funny because George Lucas is always tied to Star Wars on a casual basis. but he only directed 1, 2, 3, and 4. He didn't direct 5 or 6.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people understand that, because he was having a lot of health problems when he started going for The Empire Strikes Back. So he got Irvin Kershner to direct The Empire Strikes Back, and then when it came around to Return of the Jedi, Richard Marquand directed Return of the Jedi. So I think that's why there's a very stark contrast to the tone of each 3 of the original trilogy, where, you know, if you break it down, of A New Hope is more it's more of your space western.
Mhm.
Then The Empire Strikes Back is a lot darker. It's a lot more gritty. And then Return of the Jedi is a little bit more campy, a little more lighthearted and fun for the most part. It has its dark scenes, but more or less it's gonna be your more lighthearted of the 3. But, well, that brings us to the end of the prequel trilogy. What are overall? What are your thoughts on the first 3?
First 3, they're probably my favorite. I think with the text of the original trilogy, they just can't appreciate them for what they were in the time. And so the I think I know there's a lot of hate sometimes for how like the midichlorians. I've read a couple well, no, it's not, the Force isn't about mechanisms. It's about it's a force, you know. But I think I did a really good job of solidifying dark side is, how like the faults of the light side, and just extending the depth of this universe.
Yeah, and where would you say Revenge of the Sith ranks? If the Phantom Menace is 1, Attack of the Clones is 5, where would you put Revenge of the Sith?
2.
Okay, that's fair.
It's a very close 1 and 2. It's a very close 1 and 2.
That's understandable. I see. Me personally, if I had to rank the prequels, obviously Revenge of the Sith is at the top. I think Attack of the Clones is better than the Phantom Menace, but it's not by a wide margin. And then the Phantom Menace would be 3rd. It really depends on the day, but I think as it sits right now, it's 3, 2, 1 for me.
Gotcha.
But so give me an A to F, if you will, on the, if you had to grade the prequel trilogy, what would you say the grade you would give it would be?
F. So grade them as a whole.
As a whole, as one story.
I've got to give it an. It's just this. There was nothing that happened in the movie that didn't make sense. Just as a story itself, it was compelling. It drew me in. The characters, they were all extremely well fleshed out. Even ones that we own for like 5-6 minutes of screen time. All around, I've got to give it an A.
Is it now? I want to ask this: is there any planet or character, like side character or species that really stuck out to you as being very memorable? Any of the detail, you know, the minor stuff. So if you totally look past the main characters in the story, you know, whether that be, you know, a specific planet or a side character, you know, in the background, or a prop, or really anything that's just kind of extra.
Those are hard. Who's the guy who races Anakin? Who's supposed to be like the other best pod racer?
Sebulba.
Yeah, so Bulb, he stuck out. I think the idea of species and like his character design and just I mean he's just a sleazeball, man. I think that's a super relatable characterization. I think you find it really cool that you're gonna find a dick like that on every fucking planet. So he's to me. I think he really makes his mark with how little screen time he gets.
Yeah, Sebulba deserved better, but obviously you can't devote too much time to one character that's not a main part of the story.
Absolutely.
But all right, well that wraps up the prequels. I'm shocked we went for as long as we did on that. We'll be back talking about the original trilogy in the next episode. So, Jess, thanks for coming on. Yeah, here soon. We'll talk about the original trilogy and yeah. Any parting words from you?
Really, I think we covered about as much as we could in an hour and a half. Well, I guess we'll just leave it with me. The force.
All right. Well, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But thank you again for coming around to the Beskar Bucket.